Our first speaker is here to speak on the importance of neighborhood schools, and that is Dr. Mark Schiowitz. Dr. Schiowitz is a graduate of Coughlin High School, of Franklin and Marshall College, and Jefferson Medical College. He is the Chief of General Surgery at the Wilkes-Barre General Hospital. He is also an Associate Professor of Surgery at the Commonwealth Medical College. Beyond that, Dr. Schiowitz did spend time on our very own Wilkes-Barre Area School District Board of Directors. Here is Dr. Schiowitz.
Apologize ahead of time for reading. I have a lot of material to cover. I'm a little surprised to be here today discussing neighborhood schools. An expert in educational theory has better credentials, but here's why you're stuck with me. Several years ago, as I like to joke, I was sentenced to a short stretch on the school board as a replacement. One day, a member just stood up and moved for the closure of Myers High School. It was a time of budget crisis, and Myers seemed briefly, according to a board-hired firm, to be sinking into the sea because it didn't pass the marble rolling test. Later, still another paid consultant reassured us that it just wasn't so. At that point, with thoughts about urgent school closing and old buildings, I started to study the literature about consolidation, neighborhood schools, and enrollment. I'm going to share some of that with you in light of what I've learned, and I'm going to remain critical to the multi-part, ill-conceived plan hatched by the board majority. No matter how well-intentioned, it runs contrary to mainstream educational research, ignores the needs of a major neighborhood, and worst of all, throws away much of what is good in the district. Wilkes-Barre School District has an inferiority complex. We feature few shiny facilities, suspect academic testing, many disadvantaged students, and a crippled tax base. However, the board majority doesn't seem to recognize some of the great things we have, and this is the core of my discussion, to which I'll return in some detail if I don't find everybody snoring. And maybe I will anyway, because who cares? In addition to the many fine teachers I've encountered, here are 4 strengths that I see. Number 1, GAR and Myers are in fully residential neighborhoods and utilize virtually no busing. Number 2, we have 3 high schools of moderate size, average about 1,000 students, arguably optimal enrollment. Number 3, Myers and GAR have a neighboring elementary school, thus boasting an elementary secondary campus. Number 4, a grade 7 to 12 educational model exists in those 2 schools, that is, Myers and GAR as well. All of these advantages are threatened by the current plan. Returning first to neighborhood schools. I first encountered an article and its sequel from 2003, published by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. The article, Why Johnny Can't Walk to School, decries the movement of neighborhood schools, usually to the suburbs, but as importantly, emphasized the potential to restore landmark buildings, render them green, and in them provide top educational facilities. The article emphasized the importance of schools to residential neighborhoods. It describes the health benefit from walking or biking to school, and the use of schools as de facto community centers. It links the presence of a high school to property values and predicts that community blight and loss of neighborhood investment accompany school closure. The article exposes the slipshod way in which older schools are evaluated for modernization, frequently by firms determined to throw up some scholastic Walmart. The state's arm for construction assistance, PlanCom, states, quote, school districts should take all reasonable efforts to preserve and protect school buildings that are eligible for historic registers, such as our city schools. They add, quote, because renovations to an existing building are usually less expensive than new construction, the proportion of reimbursement is usually greater for work on existing buildings than for new buildings. In an article, A Guide to Renovating School Facilities, sponsored by ACEF, property values were noted to rise in older neighborhoods which renovated schools. Renovations were said to be less costly, require less time, and provide more jobs than new construction. Renovate or Replace by the Pennsylvania Department of Education notes older schools are well suited to be refurbished as green buildings, and with those reservations, well-constructed schools from the pre-war era can last, quote, indefinitely, whereas the useful life of contemporary construction is about 40 years. As for school size, there may be some arguments about the exact optimal number of students. This is important. There is unprecedented unanimity in the education literature that smaller is better. Looking for an article on the academic advantages of large schools is like locating medical journal which supports smoke. While we should aim to improve the workings of our schools, our enrollment levels are optimal for achievement, for participation, and safety. As important, poor academic outcomes are magnified for disadvantaged students who are placed in larger schools. No matter what imagined advantages are attached to the current plan, our students are being placed at risk for poor achievement and less participation in school life. I'll support this contention very briefly with one article. Howley and Bickle in 4-state studies stated, quote, "The well-documented correlation between poverty and low achievement is much stronger, as much as 10 times stronger in the larger schools than in smaller schools." They add, quote, "States concerned about reinvesting in deteriorating school facilities should not be eager to increase school sizes if higher student achievement, especially in poor communities, is a goal." Returning to campuses, such as Myers-Kistler, this arrangement, also seen in the Heights, enhances safety for young children, peace of mind for parents. A single parent or 2 working parents may have to depend on an older child to secure his or her younger sibling. Several caring parents lamented to me that they purchased their homes due to these good neighborhood schools. Extending this concept to much of the Coughlin community, rather than excising it from South Wilkes-Barre, would provide a far better public service. The board and superintendent seem anxious to abandon the 7 to 12 model. Perhaps this is not new enough, it doesn't involve enough busing. However, cities like Tulsa and Cincinnati and numerous Canadian districts are embracing this model that we have in 2 of our schools. 7 to 12 is favored by some educators. It cuts an often difficult transition year from middle school to high school. It provides youngsters with good role models among the older students. A formal mentoring system can even be established. Younger students can share in a facility which has laboratories, microscopes, computers, and a centralized middle school, should it happen, would require still more busing. I have a few words to say about consolidation, and then I'm done. It's tempting to just sit down, but they won't. There has not been a significant academic article calling for school consolidation since the 1970s. So call us 50 years behind the time. Mergers began in order to get students in sturdier structures, to allow single grade classes, to encourage teachers to specialize in one subject, and to allow rural schools to take advantage of the state's willingness to transport farm and rural students. Earlier consolidations were really never to save money, though that's often touted today. When I look around at regional mergers, no offense intended, I don't see bastions of academic and fiscal achievement either. Eyre and Finn won the 2002 Education Writers Award for their newspaper article Closing Costs, which appeared in the Charleston Gazette. They detailed West Virginia school consolidation. That state actively pursued consolidation, predicting lower cost and better course offerings among many promises. Sound familiar? Well, in September of that year, the school building authority director admitted closings didn't save taxpayers any money. The county spent more on utilities than 5 years earlier. Local administrators increased by 16%. Many advanced courses never materialized, and per pupil spending increased more than in any other state. In Iowa, where consolidation did manage to produce some additional course offerings, unfortunately, higher achievement did not follow. In an excerpt from the National Education Policy Center, research on consolidation suggested that it is, quote, likely to result in neither greater efficiency nor better educational outcomes. Cox in the journal Education found that consolidation does not, on average, reduce educational expenditures. Other researchers point to diseconomies of scale, resulting from increased money for transportation, operation, management, and security. Finally, Howley et al., in a review of this subject, say impoverished districts can suffer, quote, irreversible damage if consolidation occurs. They suggest other fiscal efficiencies like cooperative purchasing among districts and combining financial services. So friends, if consolidation means too many students in a school, few if any savings, little curriculum enhancement, more busing, and harm to our neighborhoods, I say great plan, but what's left? Mega sports teams? This conversation can't be about sports. So what's left is the sprawling Washington Street campus. A site so vast, a friend in our group suggested sardines for the new school nickname. People, we need a better plan.